Hello, everybody who's here and everybody else. My name is William White, and this is the second official regular meeting of the Disabled and Non-Disabled Alliance at Sacramento State of spring 2022. It is the future. That always throws me off. Today we're covering, and I say covering, it's slightly different format than usual. We're talking about disability as a form of diversity, I guess, because this is mostly a sort of conceptual question. It's sort of philosophical in nature, and obviously what that means is we'll bring in points from other non-abstract domains. We have decided to go with a slightly different format from the norm for the Disabled Non-Disabled Alliance, and that is that we're mainly going to focus on the discussion portion, which is to say that it'll mostly be an open forum, a kind of round table on diversity, disability, how they fit together, and what that means, and how it translates into public policy. So it's kind of a directed but not scripted discussion. There's no real lecture portion as soon as I stop talking. So with that in mind, we'll bring up the first bit of the agenda, which I think is what's on screen now. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, it's just going to be introductions, some announcements, discussion, and the ending bit where we tell you what else is going to go on in Dana going forward. So we'll go with the introductions. I just real quick backstory. We suggested among us like putting a picture here, and this is the fun thing about making PowerPoints. You can Google stock images and they just put them on. And I Googled like, what was it, like virtual digital handshake or something like that, and thousands of images that looked almost exactly like this one popped up. It was great. It was a fun time. Many iterations. So yeah, I don't know. That was my day. So we're gonna go through introductions, especially for those of us who are relatively new to the club or newcomers to the sort of official meetings and how these work. So we're gonna go through names, affiliated pronouns, majors, if you would like to share what you would want to do with that major, especially is what is my interest. And what?
I can explain this one. This is one I learned in my math class a few years back. So imagine you have a magical bathtub and it's empty, but you have the ability to have it automatically fill up with anything of your choice. The only rule is that you cannot say multiple things. Like the statement has to be one item.
One item replicated across a magic bathtub. Cool.
Yes.
The worst part is that I can see how this would fit into a math curriculum. I don't know, but I can guess. So yeah, I'll just go around and I'll start. Insofar like I don't have an answer for that last one really, but I'm William. I'm the president, commander in chief around here. I veto all the legislation. I use the P series. Obviously, I'm a philosophy major with a concentration in ethics, politics, and law because I want to be a politician, and I don't want to be a bad one. Therefore, I'm not studying like to be a lawyer. And what would I fill a magic bathtub? First thought, chocolate fondue. Second thought, that's a bad idea because that's either fun or kinky, and there's no way to tell which.
If it's kinky, then you're the one who's making it kinky, okay? There's nothing kinky about a magic bathtub. I guess I'll go next then. Wow, okay.
Kinky is in the articulation.
My name is Rian Dinsans. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. My major is child development, but I'm on a gap year and rethinking all of my life decisions, so we'll see where that goes. What would I fill a magic bathtub with? I heard a really smart answer once, but I don't feel like being smart, so I would fill it with rocks and crystals that look real but are actually edible, because every single rock and crystal I've ever seen I've wanted to bite into and it's not going to work, so I want to fill it with edible rocks.
I mean, that exists, rock candy.
Basically, except it looks real and I can freak people out by eating it in front of them.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and I guess I'll go next. My name is Brian Tao. I go by he, him, his. My major is environmental studies, and I want to become a city planner. So I want to be a part of projects that improves like transportation in terms of accessibility. And I guess what would I fill with a magic bathtub? I don't know. I'll probably fill it with some kind of food because I don't know. Like I like food. I'm a big foodie.
Okay. Does anybody else want to volunteer to go next, or I can? I don't know. I shouldn't call on people. Don't go unless you're comfortable going.
Should I go?
Yeah, please.
Okay, my name is William, but call me Will. My pronoun is it, him. My major is interior architect. So because I love interior architect so much that I wanna help improve the ADA for that compliance. Because not a lot of building is accessible. And what would I feel in the bathtub? I don't know. I was thinking about seafood because I love seafood, like especially crab because you know. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I mean like crab is like delicious food.
It is
You could have a mini crab rave in your bathtub.
really crab, like soft shell crab.
Wait, okay, is it a live crab or is it like dead, like cooked crab?
No, I can't answer that.
Yeah, I mean, like if it's like cooked crab, then you can like sell it, right? And make like tons of money.
Yeah,
I mean, we could just fill the bathtub with money.
You
It doesn't
could.
have to
You
be
could.
that.
There's nothing
but-
against
but
that.
I feel like if you have a lot of money, you might your personality might change. So, like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Some people does that too. When they have a lot of money, they change. I don't know.
Yeah. So Zachary, do you want to do your introduction? If you can just do it in the chat as well.
We'll see if
They might
that
be
comes up.
typing.
I understand if people are either.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Nice to meet you.
Here's the thing I wonder if we could do. Can we bring a chat window for this kind of thing into the screen share?
I mean, we could.
I think it automatically blocks it out
Oh, maybe.
with the gray stripes.
Yeah.
We could just read it out
Yeah,
loud when they're
just
done
read it out loud.
typing.
Yeah. I guess I can start. His name is Zachary Nebe. Their pronouns are he, him, they, them. Their major is biology, cell molecular biology concentration, and he's slowly working towards a doctorate degree, and R&D.
I don't know what that is.
Research and development.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very cool.
badly need more people who are conscientious of, you know, the biological facts of the world. It's
I
less
guess.
common than you'd hope.
Yeah, I guess Kilan, do you want to do your introduction? Also, feel free to like unmute yourself whenever you want. This is a really like
Video
chill
games, good choice.
conversation.
Yeah. I tend to just mute myself unless I like want to say something specific and to just reduce any background noise that might be happening or whatever. But hi, I'm Keelan. My pronouns are they, them with the occasional he. I graduated like 2 semesters ago. I got a BA in American Sign Language and Deaf Studies. I think I was might have been my last semester when the club got started actually, so that's kind of why I'm here hanging out with y'all, because I want to be a part of the community even though I've graduated. If I could fill a magic bathtub with something, what would it be? Ooh. Probably something to do with chocolate. I don't know what kind, but just chocolate.
Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate.
Chocolate.
So I guess what kind of chocolate do you want? Do you want like, I don't know, dark chocolate?
I generally like milk and dark. See's candy would be pretty good. That'd be pretty interesting. Or like Ghirardelli. Or like Lindor.
I love
That's
Lindor's
smart, like the
little
individual wrap
chocolate
ones. Yeah.
ball thing.
Yeah,
Truffles
like
or
small little
something.
one. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Do you guys want to hear the smartest answer I've heard for this?
Yes,
Now
yes.
that we've all gone. Their answer was everything they've ever lost. And I thought that was...
That is ridiculously smart.
I know. I'd be like, I never would have thought of that, but I didn't want to lead with that answer because it felt like cheating. Because like, I didn't think of that, so.
What would I fill a magic bathtub with? Easy, love. Well, that's allowed.
I thought you might say you'd fill the bathtub with hormones because you've been talking about transitioning for so long. Just
so
lifetime
many,
supply of
though.
hormones. You
Much
never
too
have
much
to worry about paying for it.
Just fill a bathtub with tea. Wait, no. Wait, for me though, it could be either tea the drink or tea the hormone. Either would track with me.
You might get both. Like if you told a genie that you wanted to fill that bathtub with tea,
oh no,
you might get both. You might get tea infused hormones. I don't know.
Or hormone infused tea.
magic bathtub is the new monkey's paw. Anyway,
magic bathtub of transgender. I'm sorry, I have a very weird sense of humor.
You're fine.
So we'll head over to announcements, and this chaos will probably continue.
Yeah. Oh, I deleted that. Why is that still there? The little extra bullet point.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Okay, so yeah, I'll turn the mic over to Rian for progress on the LACCD case. I have not been following that, unfortunately.
Yeah, so just this morning we got news. So the LA Community College District has a board of trustees, and they basically are they hold a lot of power and weight over the district, and they can pretty much tell them what to do. And in this past week, a lot of people submitted comments through the website or attended their meeting either in person or virtually and spoke their mind about the Pine versus LACCD case, where the district was arguing that because their discrimination against blind students with their inaccessible materials was unintentional. The blind students never should have been allowed to pursue the case in the first place. Obviously bullshit and undermines the ADA's very foundations. So people went to the board of trustees meeting and spoke their mind about the case and how they should drop it. And it was slated to go to the Supreme Court tomorrow, March 4th, to argue their case. And just today, the Board of Trustees released a statement directing the legal team to pursue mediated settlement without filing case to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is official. It is a direction, and I don't know if the district's legal team will actually follow through with that direction, but I believe there would be consequences if they didn't. So that is a huge welcome development, and thought it was important to update and share it since we've been talking about this case over the past month.
Yeah. Always encouraging to see the establishment capitulate to reason on occasion. How rare it is. But yeah, that is good sign. It looks like we hopefully will not get the kind of like legal precedent where the ADA is that thoroughly undermined. We've discussed at length at Dana previous meetings about the shortcomings in practice of the Americans with Disabilities Act and other kinds of legislation in the same area. But to allow discrimination that is quote unquote unintentional would be to render that policy even more toothless than it currently is. So yeah, encouraging, although until further notice, every day is a bad day. Okay, so next announcement is, oh, I put this at the end as well. Can you tell we don't communicate too much during the making of the PowerPoints? Movie night next Friday. We want to know like what to watch. I would encourage anybody with any thoughts to like go in the Discord, make a suggestion. I guess you can also
just
get
throw
out
it in the
Twitter or
chat
whatever.
here. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
that's it.
just for disability related either. It's literally just a night to hang out and have fun together. So if there's a movie you want to watch, go ahead and put it here. We can watch any movie with the power of VPNs and smart selection of streaming services. So
I don't think it's gonna be the streaming service. I think we're gonna do it kind of like secretly.
yeah. Not breaking any laws.
Yeah, we're not.
But yeah, any movie you want to watch, go ahead and
feel
throw
like
out a
we're
suggestion.
I'm pretty sure watch parties are legal. Recording and monetizing watch parties, probably not. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I wanted to make this announcement. So Through Our Lens, episode 7, Friends, Environment and Disability, comes out every Mondays, but this episode's coming out on March 7th at 12 p.m. And we're gonna have Will be our guest again, and he's gonna talk about his experiences with interior design and universal design.
And our next official meeting of the kind this one is the big ones, insofar as any of them are big, is on Monday. I believe it's Thursday, March 18th. Friday, March 18th. Yeah, and it covers the broad topic that is going to be fleshed out a little bit. Disability at Sacramento State. So we can talk about that's to contextualize that slightly. We've discussed in the past things related to this, but they've been from the standpoint of broader policies in the state and the United States, whereas we're now trying to zero in on the university and problems that we find at the university. There are a few that we've discussed outside of official meetings, I believe, for the most part. And yeah, and I want to I'll try. I'm gonna, that PowerPoint's like not made yet, obviously, but I'm gonna try to skew things in the direction of how do we fix it, because I have some ideas there as well. So yeah, that's I hope we see you there for that. You'll get these announcements again at the end, because I threw them there.
And if you have any announcements of your own, feel free to share them in the chat or out loud now. Just anything you think is cool, if there's stuff happening in the world right now you want to talk about, or if there's a cool activity going on in the area, just anything you think is important, feel free to share them now.
It's possible that we'll get like a chat in, but I wanted to share something as well real quick, because I heard about it just today, earlier this afternoon. There is and I don't know how familiar people will be with it, but there is a summit that goes on once a year, I believe, with the it's called the California California Higher Education Student Summit, which is just, as I don't really know the details because again, I didn't know this existed before this afternoon, but it's sort of I understand it's sort of like a roundtable of Californian college students to bring forward any ideas and the kinds of like issues and ideas that college students particularly have. It's sort of a place to, collect and disseminate information that you may have that other college students might benefit from, I guess. And the reason I kind of want to bring that forward, even though I basically know nothing about it in order to advertise it, is that there's a sign-up process, but the sign-in is, not the sign-up, but the registration process, but the registration is due, I believe, by tomorrow at noon. So that's not going to be useful to people who are watching this recording. But yeah, Friday, March 4th will be the last, before noon is the last time to register for that event. And so you'll be able to go to the virtual thing, which as I understand is a sort of day-long Sunday affair, but for some reason I couldn't find the date on the website that I was at. So look into that, CHES, or California Higher Education Student Summit. It's any opportunity to get involved is a good one, right?
Yeah, very cool.
There you go. I don't see anything in the chat, so if we do have anything someone else wants to bring forward, please go ahead and do so. But for the moment, I think it's safe to head over to the discussions portion, which is the bulk of this whole exercise.
We're literally just going to be talking for the rest of the meeting. So.
Yep. So I guess just feel free to unmute yourself whenever. We are a chill club.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and just read these out just to see if anything captures the imagination here. But okay, so the topic of the day is disability as a form of diversity. How and what and where and why. How do you define diversity, and how does disability cohere with it? What are your personal feelings about disability overall, and particularly about your own disability, if applicable? Is that where is and is there a line between healthcare and eugenics? Where does, I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Where does prosthesis fit into the whole making the world more equitable for disabled people and stuff? How does disability inform your perspective? And I can elaborate on that one a little bit more as well. How does it inform where you stand in relation to things that are happening around you? And how is that, a different standpoint from the people who are not disabled, or not disabled in that particular context or whatever it is, because that might feed into what disability as a form of diversity means, and what would an inclusive world that encompasses disability as a form of diversity, embraces disability as a form of diversity rather, look like? The first obvious answer is universal design, but how to articulate universal design is a question in itself as well. So we want to put that to the floor. Contribute any thoughts that you can, because it's kind of a slightly fuzzy philosophical sort of domain, and we don't have hard information to present to you on that, because it's that kind of discussion. So I'll just put that to the floor. Whoever wants to get us started.
Zachary has their hand up.
Yeah, Zachary, please. If you're able to,
Yeah, I think you can hear me. If it's too
Yeah,
loud,
I hear you.
tell me. Well, like the first question is a bit like, to me, I think of diversity as being like difference, like I guess like coming together. Maybe this is a little off, but like it's being able to recognize a plethora of differences and like individuality and stuff like that. And I think that disability appears to that because it's no two people have the same exact disability. No two people experience their disability the same. So there's a plethora of different ways of living and experience that comes with it, but it's just there. It's just part of our living. And I think that as a form of diversity, it kind of intersects with everything else. Like there are Black, people of color, I think it's AAPI, I think is the other one. Like Asian something. So I don't know the.
Yeah, I think it's Asian Pacific Islander, something like that.
Yes, thank you. And like Hispanic or Latino, like it kind of goes everywhere. Well, and the LGBT, I can't forget that. But yeah. I don't want to hog the airspace.
Oh, no worries. Feel free to talk as long as you like, because usually William and I talk way too much in these meetings, and we kind of dominate the conversation. So you're free to keep talking.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna kind of go down the thing if that doesn't. And if anyone wants to interject, please do. Like my personal feelings of disability are kind of a little mixed. I kind of like. I think I've only recently really thought of myself as being disabled, so I think that's kind of. I don't know if that's necessarily like. Well, it is personal feelings, so it's like for me, it's. Pardon, sorry.
Okay.
So like, I've never really thought of myself as that. I don't. I think it's because for me it's normal, so it's harder to like make that distinction. In well, and it's not like I don't have like a visible. I think that's part of it too. It's like I'm not visibly disabled. This is more of like a mental, like, because like I just recently, like, I want to say 5 years ago, maybe. I can't remember when exactly, but like I've recently I got an official diagnosis for autism. And I was originally diagnosed as ADHD. So it's been a very long, bumpy road for me, and in that regard. And I guess like that's just kind of where I'm at with it. And I'm still getting used to the whole like I think I'm getting used to and coming to terms with like there's limitations. Like you have limits. Your bandwidth is not infinite, kind of thing. And Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I wanted to go back
and
to. I guess I
yeah,
had like things to say about your like comments. So like for the first question, what do you define as diversity? Yeah, I think I do agree with that. Like, there's not one way to be disabled, right? Like everyone's
oh
different
yeah,
in their own way.
oh yeah. Like I'm like struggling to try to think of like how to like say that without like saying diversity. That feels very
Yeah, that's
tautological.
hard.
I think your personal feelings about your disability tie in very neatly with how you define diversity, because you define diversity as something like naturally occurring differences and stuff, and just embracing those differences. And you've done that with your disability because you went through a lot of life not really thinking of yourself as disabled. So I guess that lines up really well.
Right? Like it's a weird thing. It really is. Like it feels weird, and it's like at 34 years of age, it's like I feel kind of, I don't know. It's just it's an interest. It's been an interesting journey.
Yeah. I also want to add, we don't have to tackle these questions in order. We also don't have to take turns answering these questions. They're just there to kind of get the brain juices going and give us a more specific
Okay.
topic to talk about. But
Okay.
I mean, you can, address specific questions if you want, but just so you know, it's meant to be more of an open format, so don't feel pressured to answer every question that's on there.
Okay. Okay. It's I'm kind of like it's partly like I feel I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of questions, so I should answer all of them.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
No, it's great because like some of these I'm like I've never sat down and thought about like truly thought about that like the personal feelings like I mean I should I should back up a little bit like for me like I think that it's only like in the past few years that I've really started to sit down and think about it and these first two semesters at Sac State like it is really kind of bringing that home I think for me and it's like kind of forcing me to like sit down and be like look you were this but you were also this you need to like realize these things and self-care and all that
Yeah.
because that's a really I think that's the hardest part is like once it's like self-care I'm trying to think of how to word this um I think it's like self-care is kind of one of those things that you gotta find time for it and I
Definitely.
think like for understanding your own feelings about your disabilities and like where how they impact you is I think kind of necessary to that because it's like otherwise you're I don't know
Yeah, I have to carve out hours and hours of time for self-care because part of self-care is hygiene, right? And my shower routine takes about 3 hours total because of my disability. And I gotta stay conscious of that and my disability in order to efficiently take care of myself, because otherwise I'll end up running out of time or being late to things or just straight up not doing it. Also, hi Jackie, glad you could join us.
Yeah, similar to Rian, yeah, my entire shower, like, I guess, journey lasts around like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. And I have to like always keep that in mind. I can't stay up too late because I'll just be sleeping hella late.
I also have to like plan my day around the shower because it takes so much energy as well. So I can't do anything major later in the day because I will be dead to the world by 5 p.m.
It's interesting to bring in this this general subject matter because part of like what diversity seems to mean in context is that these differences obtain, and they're the kinds of things that an able person might perfectly, coherently not think about because having never encountered a person of such a with that difference embedded. And so like somewhere in this, in our conception of diversity as a fact of life, or as a thing to be included and incorporated and folded in, is going to be the fact that we can't really make that there are not very many safe assumptions when it comes to how people operate, and that's just, I don't know, one part of the issue that I think a lot of disabled people face is that people make those assumptions, even like disabled people to other disabled people, because there are so many ways, as you point out, there are so many other and varied ways to be disabled. There's no, I mean, there is no, I have a strictly contextual definition for disability in general. So there's obviously no one way that it can happen. And yeah, like one of that's going to be part of the concept, and part of the problem that arises from the concept is if you can't make safe assumptions for the most part, then it's how do you get things done? Like how there has to be some kind of adapted practice for making things more efficient and effective, when diversity is as part of like trying to incorporate diversity, trying to affirm it and include it. Yeah, I don't know. That's just, I think that's cool, but difficult. It becomes like that kind of cashing out of the concept makes it a little bit more, clear why this is such a big problem. Like why politically there's so little that's been done to favor diversity in general, because it makes things logistically harder, as in part. It also gives you more tools to deal with it, but like that's not that's not going to be in the immediate thought process of like the employer or whoever. Anyway, yeah, just, I don't know. That's a thought from me.
I have to say that's a very awesome thought. And honestly, like I agree. Like it is very much about what you do, like how you act upon the idea. But it's just as important as the idea itself, and really should be the motivation. Like, is give me a second. Brain is buffering. Um, I think that like, cause like I got involved by accident, uh, in like the student body government for like the college, the community college I came from, and when sorry, when I got involved in that, it's like the goal of the student body government is to be the voice of the students. It has to be the voice of the students. Like you're not representing yourself at all. Like you can't be that can't be a part of the equation. Not really. And it a lot of the stuff that we were doing was geared around diversity, like literally like trans diversity or like LGBT diversity, anti-racism. One of the things I noticed, not include, I don't think it was like strongly included. I might be misremembering, but like there wasn't a whole lot of like disability related stuff in there either. In that, and and I feel like that's a very missed opportunity. Like that's something that could have been done. And if I think that it's only a matter of time, and I'm still actually a part of like one of the committees. So maybe I could start, being the what is that? What is that? I keep thinking weasel in the ear, and that's not right. Maybe I could whisper in someone's ear about it. But
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do like political advocacy, I highly recommend being as creepy about it as possible. Like get right up to the ear and just whisper as quietly as you can.
Harass your public elected officials.
I mean, they'll pay attention.
just climb into their like personal space.
Arms around the neck.
Hey,
buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Oh no. But you're right. Like that's as diversity initiatives get off the ground in various businesses and governments and stuff. I think it does tend to be hard to fold in disability to those initiatives, because a lot of what we think of as diversity, like conventionally, has to do with things like race, ethnicity, and religion, and so forth. Where, I mean, for lack of a more coherent concept here, there are a lot of relatively safe assumptions when we talk about those subsets of humans, and because those categories are built out of shared beliefs or shared history, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem with disability is that there's just no common feature, I guess. There's kind of a common feature. There's the circumstantial oppression of the disabled, but there's a lot of ways to obtain those circumstances. It's in the interaction of the environment with the body. And furthermore, there's no way to get, I mean, you can get, obviously people get born with disabilities or features that become, when they interact with various contexts, disabilities. And there's so many different ways that it can happen, but it can also just happen to you via an injury. There isn't the kind of shared history or belief structure or experience that makes it easy to block disabled people into a category.
Yeah, because there is a shared history. There's a very long history of the disabled community within, not just the US, but the world as well. Could be COVID. Yeah, COVID is contributing to the disabled population and it's impacting the disabled community as a whole. But, you're right in that there isn't really any one singular thing that all of us have in common besides our oppressors. Because the way we experience oppression varies depending on how our personal experiences with disability impact how we move about the world. It's not like being, let's say you're Black, right? Like the color of your skin, that's a very well-defined thing that doesn't have a whole lot of variation. But with disability, we're all over the place, and how people react to you as a Black person compared to the next Black person, it's going to be very similar. I mean, there are exceptions because, the added layers of complexity when it comes to Black disabled people, Black queer people, Black women versus Black men. They all experience oppression differently, but there's still that common shared oppression based on the color of their skin. But with disabled people, there is no common shared oppression that presents itself in the same way from one person to the next. we're all over the place.
Yeah.
I kind of want to pause for a second and open the floor to William, Keelan, and Jackie, just because we've been talking for a bit, and I know sometimes it can feel like you might be interrupting if you speak up, but I want to open the floor to you guys really quick if you have any thoughts.
I was gonna say something though.
Yeah.
So bring back to the saver. Assume I cannot speak that. So I want to tell you that about how my experience in my studio. So my studio is a design studio. So it must have uh, some diversity. So I mean, there's a lot of it's my hold on, sorry, I'm really trouble. So my class is really diversity, but when I'm the one disabled there, and you know, a lot of classmates assume me that I cannot assume about me. I cannot, you know, I don't talk much. But then, when I was thinking about how should I make, um, how should I bring myself into that, like the whole class? So I would just like when the professor asks anything, if I know anything, I just talk and like speak out. So that show them how that wait let, hold on, let me think about it.
Yeah,
I'll get back to you.
yeah, I think I do understand what
Okay.
you're saying. So basically, like you're in your studio, and like everyone, like all the students think that you're like, oh, I guess like they don't really know how to like interact with you, or they don't really know if you talk a lot. But then like you're just talking whenever you get a chance to kind of show them that you're just like a normal person. It's not like weird.
Yeah, yes, that's why, because I want to be like friend with everybody in that class, and that's the only way I can do it, because I cannot just go up to them and talk to them like certainly, because they might feel um not weird, but different kind of word, like I don't know, I maybe.
Plus, people usually stay in their seats during break times, and I mean, you can't really get between the desks when you have a power chair, much less up the stairs in the lecture hall.
And you know, the desk in my studio is, it's not like the normal seat. It it has the big table, so whenever I ask anything, it's really hard to hear what I'm saying too. So they might assume that, oh, I don't know what she's saying. That's yeah.
Q and Jackie, do you have any comments? I just want to give you guys a chance to speak before we continue with our chaos.
Not at the moment.
I don't have any comments. From what I've been here for, because I arrived late, I think the discussion is very intriguing because it's not really talked about a lot besides this club in my experience. You know?
Yeah.
One thought that occurs is to, I guess, sort of in line with the last question that we have in this sort of optional prompts section, which is what does a more inclusive world look like? One reason that I think disability as a form of diversity gets not direct pushback, like not on the concept, but there's it's harder to get efforts off the ground to make sure disability is included, is because it does share the common feature of like other other forms of diversity, that to include it, to include disabled people in like decision making and in class discussion and stuff, often requires a substantial change to how the system operates normally. Like it's hard to just take somebody who is from a historically marginalized group and a circumstantially marginalized group at that, like that individual is from, say, I don't know, a financially poorly off neighborhood, or is disabled in some let's say like socially salient capacity. Many autistic people have certain like social dispositions which are unusual and unaccounted for in a lot of people's minds. And that's very general on my part, but the point is that the systems as they currently operate have the default position of excluding people based on all kinds of situational factors, and so the affirmative inclusion of diversity requires a substantive change to those normal operations. It's as I say, it's just not the case that you can make the Black folks eligible for public office along with white folks and expect that to precipitate the change just by itself, and it's not the case that you can make it officially true that people with disabilities can be employed in this kind of position at your company or whatever, because the rest of the environment, the rest of the social factors at play make it the case that that's very unlikely to happen, quite regardless of what the official policy is. So that's one of the idea I want to bring in is that including disabled people, disability in general, amongst the diversity coalitions that are trying to be folded into the system without being like assimilated by it, I guess, will take logistical change. It will take material change as well as sort of changing of the social attitudes and dogmas that prevail right now, because those material systems are equally designed to be exclusionary, and that's part of why this is a challenge, like why this is difficult to do in a system that is as old and well established as ours is. So yeah, like ways of doing that kind of material policy change is something that I want to implant in our heads as a group. Yeah. Because oftentimes if we can, I think it's a reason, an understandable but a mistake to make, to limit our discussion, limit our thinking to the interpersonal side of things, the sort of attitudes people in institutions tend to have towards various groups that are historically marginalized, including but not limited to disability. We want to change the system as well as the minds.
Yeah, I really, our entire society within the United States of America runs on money and profit, and that's inherently incompatible with disability rights and our inclusion, because it places our value as a human being on how much profit we can generate. We'd have to do some serious overhaul to make this work. We'd have a completely different society if we wanted to be equitably included within society in a way that is fair to all. I kind of want to, we haven't really touched on it yet, so I kind of want to touch on the line between healthcare and eugenics, if there is one. I personally believe there is one, because to me, healthcare should be something that is done by choice to improve your personal quality of life, while eugenics is something that is employed with or without consent, often without and is done for the quote unquote greater good of our gene pool. Consensual palliative care. Yeah, because like here's the thing. So currently, personally, I am against assisted suicide programs like MAID in Canada. Not because I believe disabled people shouldn't have the right to choose when to go. I do believe that. But because it is currently much harder to live as a disabled person than it is to die as a disabled person. And so you're naturally hurting disabled people towards death by making it difficult for them to live in the first place. So that's why I'm against programs like that for now, because that's just straight up eugenics. You are coercing people towards death by making it difficult for them to live as they are currently in their current form, right? But if it were different, if living was like totally cool, if there wasn't systemic oppression, if they had as much access to the care and medications that they needed to live a comfortable life as possible and go throughout the life the way they want to, then I would be down for that, for assisted suicide to be legalized, because where your stopping point is in life when it comes to your health is your choice, right? Unless you're unconscious, because then the law states that if you're unconscious, then people are allowed to naturally assume that you want to be saved, and they should take all measures to prevent your death unless otherwise stated in a legal document that they have access to. But like, you know, if you're dying of cancer, you know, it's coming, it is unavoidable, and there's no treatment and no cure, then, you know, I feel like you should have the right to pick how and when you're gonna go, you know. So that's why I'm not, you know, I get why people want it to be a thing, but it's not the right thing to employ at this point in time, because the way our societies are structured advocates for the eradication of disabled people. So, you know, it naturally goes towards that direction of eugenics. And I don't think you can classify MAID as healthcare at this point in time. I think you can very easily classify it as eugenics, specifically because of the context that it's been set up in, you know, if that makes any sense at all.
I think it makes perfect sense. Because because you're right. Our world is not really designed for. It's not created nor designed with us in mind. Not normally. It's kind of tooth and nail to get anything made to the point where like it's accessible. And and what does it mean? That there's something, because I'm in one of the one of the focus time circles. There was a really good analogy of like concerning like microaggressions and how like they're like mosquitoes, and I think of like all the little inconveniences and all the little like things that people say, you know, basically like microaggressions and what have you. I think that all of that is basically just like that's just like death by 1,000 cuts. It's just and the thing, you know, that applies everywhere, but I think that it's in a situation or in a society where we are not the dominating, or we're not the more important, or we're not assigned like a true value, or like maybe not a true value, but we're not assigned the same value as someone who is able-bodied doesn't have any sort of like chronic continuing mental uh, mental health issues of any kind. It's just that it creates that exact scenario. It's you're basically steadily herding every disabled person straight into the slaughterhouse, more or less.
Exactly.
I've heard similar concepts cashed out before, and I think cashed out quite well, like as well as there. The term that's I've heard used is cultural taxation, and specifically used in the context of talking about racial microaggressions. But you're right that it's more like broadly applicable. People face like challenges outside the margin of difficulty that's normal statistically, and over time and repeated instances that can sort of, for the cases like racial microaggressions, sometimes that translates into people getting angry at some kind of slight, some kind of microaggression in a way that seems disproportionate, but is actually like the coalesced response to lots of different microaggressions. In the case of disability, it could manifest in something like the utilization of an assisted suicide contract, right? And I find it interesting to think about the ways that a society can like propose that the individual is like the political atomic thing, and then weaponize that that concept once people start to believe it. Because yeah, it's like you propose, you say, you know, you have total freedom, you have the choice, you have the power in the situation, and then you present people with a society with a situation that they cannot reasonably be expected to cope with as an individual, and then you just and then really it's trivially easy at that point to shuffle them off.
Yeah, because it's like you're given a choice to die, but not the choice to live. You have the freedom to go out, but not the freedom to live the way you want. It doesn't work.
No, it's completely incompatible. It's I keep thinking diametrically opposed, and I don't even
pretty accurate.
I'm like, is that the right phrasing?
I think so.
Yeah, no, it's very diametrically opposed. It's creating. It's based on a false, like, what's the word? What is that? It's not a good faith.
Like
policy.
Policy?
Like, yeah, it's not a good faith policy, because it's like, it's because in good faith it would mean that, like, yes, they're taking this in consideration. They're actually thinking about how sorry.
It would be like a weird mistake to make, right?
Yeah, no, it's a really weird mistake to not like take this into consideration. And as far as I can tell, and what I've heard of like assisted suicides and stuff like that, like, this is not a consideration. This is not a thought.
I can't help but have flashbacks to high school when this was an extremely hot topic, like what, 5-6 years ago. And I was completely stuck because even I wasn't realizing that connection of people being herded towards death because I wasn't exposed to this sort of systemic oppression yet. Because I actually had a pretty decent time growing up in terms of not having to face a whole lot of systemic oppression. And so I wasn't thinking about it. And so I was kind of stuck between, you know, anybody else would have the ability to choose when they go out. So why can't disabled people? But also, killing disabled people sounds bad, right? And I was completely stuck in high school.
For like murder.
Yeah.
Murder. There's already a lot of people with disabilities are being murdered by like caretakers.
Yeah, that's what the whole topic of the day back on March 1st, which was the Disability Day in Mourning.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to that.
Oh no, it's okay.
I
No.
don't think that will make me feel more safe because like I have met a lot of my older relatives like when they were in like they were disabled and like out of like the three of them that have passed away, only one was like tired, and that was my grandma, and that's because she died like 3 times and she came back to life. And so I I don't feel like you want to die. You just want to live in a peaceful existence. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You're just tired of fighting, right?
Yeah.
If you wear them down enough, anybody will say, "Fine, yes, I want to die."
1,000%.
Yeah.
So I won't this don't interpret this as like me cutting us off, but we are a little bit over an hour. So I want to make a last like call for comments and critiques that we want to commit to the recording, and then we'll go ahead and proceed to the last slide here, and then we'll end the official meeting, and we can stay here if we want to after that. So that is totally fine. So I want to, yeah, does anybody have a one more thing to throw into the video recording?
I am. Wait, it was too violent. Sorry.
I was gonna say if no one else.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I'm trying to quote it, and I'm probably not gonna quote it correctly. And it kind of touches on the perspective thing, and it was something I'd read in what is it? It's called parallel play, and it's like the oh shush. It's like the autobiography of like I think he's like a photographer, and like one of the things he'd said so strongly resonated with me that it's too perfect. Was he was talking about how there's this concept of like parallel play where like two people would play a game and sort of be able to like communicate. It's sort of like communicating without really communicating kind of thing, and basically understand the game. And he's like but he's like being autistic, he's like how can I learn to play a game that I don't understand the rules to? Like how can I like adapt to something that wasn't made with me in mind, kind of thing. And I think that that kind of ties perspective and action into together in a sense. It's like her perspective, action, and personal feelings in like one package. It's like how do we and it kind of sums the point or the discussion in a way. It's like how do we move forward? How do we translate our personal disabilities and our personal perspectives and experiences into that action? And how do we do this without putting ourselves at I want to say, how do we do this without putting ourselves in a precarious in a more precarious position than we were, if that makes any sense?
It does, actually, yeah. I can see why that resonated with you, because that's a pretty
And
powerful set of
I'm probably
sentences.
right. Like I butchered his quote, and I will find
We
it, and I
got
will
the
have to share it
essence of
next.
it.
Like that, just like that's what hit me was like that thought. Like it's I need to reread that book because it's such a good read.
Is it called Parallel Play?
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Parallel Play. It's a really good read.
Do you
And
know the
when I
author
read it,
name?
oh my god! Wait 1 second. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Let me
Because it's a
outro us real quick, and then
oh
throw
yeah
that in the chat
no
maybe.
no
Yeah.
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 Sorry. So yeah, we'll go to the I believe we had
you're
a blank slide here for stuff. So this is just the valedictions at the end of the email here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, whatever you did, and for your contributions especially. And I hope you keep in touch with Dana. As we say, the next thing we are doing is a movie night on Friday, March 11th. And the next official meeting is Thursday evening, March 18th, 6:30 p.m. On covering disability at Sac State as best we can. Thank you so much for being involved with the club and for being an advocate for disabled people generally. And we will, I see in the chat, I'll do the plug as well. It is Parallel Play by Tim Page,
Nice.
photographer at large, I guess. I hadn't heard of it, but it's a
You're
very good
welcome.
connection to make. Okay, that'll be it for us. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Hashtag where's the ramp?
Yes, whatever. Where's the ramp?